Welcome to the voice of mountain sledding, the Mountain Sledder Podcast with Mike Reed.
Josh, thanks for coming in today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Drove across town. This is actually working out really well. I'm from Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. You're from Whitecourt, but working in Grand Prairie.
Yes,
so here
sir.
we are. We get to converge on an evening after work. You just come on over and we start recording a podcast.
Yeah, a couple hours here or there. And we're here.
What brings you to the Peace region in Grand Prairie specifically? You're working oil and gas, aren't you?
Yeah, it's that oil, baby.
The dirty oil money. It's exactly what we run in our sleds to keep them running. So everyone's got to thank you for keeping them fueled up, basically.
Absolutely. I'm the one.
I want to talk to you today. Every time I see you, you've got some new pickup truck kitted out for sledding. And like for all the diehard sled fans out there, they know. And you roll up into a parking lot, half of the day is about what you're rolling up in.
Oh, yeah.
And what are you rolling these days?
Oh, I got a 23 F350 with a 4-inch on it this year. I'm getting older, right? So
37s or what?
Yeah, 4-inch with 37s, 22s, because we're in Alberta, right? So
Big offsets.
I keep them tucked in.
Okay.
You got to keep the truck looking clean, right? So running that, and then this year, gunmetal here in GP, I got a fully custom flat deck put on it, because why not?
And it's a long box. It's an 8-foot box.
Yeah, she's an 8-foot. That's the only way to go. We're not getting groceries. We're going adventuring.
Oh man, every time I see you, do you think it's been your favorite truck so far? If you had a favorite since you've been building sled trucks?
Well, I think once you sell them, it's like, oh, I should have never sold that. That was my favorite truck kind of thing. This one's been probably my favorite so far. It's white. It's easy to keep clean. It's smooth. It's quiet. It's kind of everything the last few trucks have been building up to. You know, you spend so much seat time in them. You kind of learn as you go exactly what you need and what you want. And
the power in the diesels these days,
they're
over
ridiculous.
1,000 foot-pounds of torque.
Out of the box.
No matter what you go with, GM,
Yeah.
Ford, Dodge, like it's unreal what they'll pull.
Yeah, I'm a Ford guy. I can't keep the wheels on the ground or of any other truck. They seem to be tipped over or in the front of the grill, something else. So
Have you had a few near misses in your days of
I
sled
wouldn't say
venturing?
near misses. I've seen like full on collisions. That's how we know what we need to run. But learning lessons, right? That's why the truck's kitted out with tow ropes, and like I got custom made chains for 37 13 and a half,
Oh, wow.
and comes in handy.
In the springtime, over the years, we've been punching through snow patches, and then you get over the gravel and punch through snow patches and get over the gravel, and the chains come in super handy for that.
But that's such a great adventure on its own. Like, who else can say they take a 23 F350 and bolt chains on it, and then we're like, we're going up there.
Only the Albertans.
Yeah, and then all the BC boys are like, thanks for punching that path.
I'll take that way up.
Yeah.
But it is handy to have 37s of that spring riding, because it's just like you don't want to, and you can't really unload down low because there would be like 15 kilometers of gravel and forestry roads to get up.
Well, that's just it. Like you think the corners alone, like sure you get 100 feet of snow, but like you said, then there's 5-6K gravel on the straight paths where the sun shine, but the corners are shaded, so you have to like almost punch past that when you're doing our April-May shoots.
Yeah.
Like most people put their sleds away at the end of April because it's like, oh, there's no snow in the parking lot, and then we're just like, yeah, we got 2 more months.
It's funny. You go past where they take their trail passes and everything, and it's just empty. The parking lot at Boulder is empty.
Mm-hmm.
But that to me is like some of the funnest times to go up riding, because it's like you got the mountain to yourself. There's not the crowds to deal with.
No.
And like you said, it's kind of an adventure getting up there. But then you come down at the end of the day and you can like go ride your mountain bike or dirt bike. Like
or vice versa. Like you have sun till 11 o'clock at night up there, so you wake up, you go for your mountain bike, you have like a brunch, couple mimosas, and then we're going filming for the day.
Do you think
that's
that's
like a spa?
Is that your favorite time to ride? Is the spring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm deep days are fun, don't get me wrong, but I don't really like being cold and wet.
Yeah, and you mentioned the long days. It's so much more productive for filming too.
It is, yeah. Sitting around, like, I don't know how you filmers do it, like 12 hours a day with your gloves off, just like, okay, go. Like,
You look over and I'm just an icicle.
yeah, can you please just do something cool? So the spring days are definitely my favorite. Everybody's in a good mood and like you're warm. Everybody wants to help shovel because they're warm, and then you get like a solid 6-man crew, and the snow can pack easily. The jumps, that's my favorite.
This episode of the Mountain Sledder Podcast is brought to you by Mountain Sports Distribution and ShopMSD.com, your source for top brands in sledding and powersports. From 509 to Highmark, Tobe to CFR, and their exclusive line of Mountain Lab gear, MSD is where you can find products tailored to meet the needs of serious backcountry powersports users. Mountain Sports Distribution has constantly been expanding their line of products each year, and I always look forward to what comes out next. From a custom Mountain Lab toolkit which contains everything needed no matter what brand you ride, to super bright headlamps and even gear bags and tie-downs, any outerwear and safety gear you need for riding, basically everything you'll need in a day of riding, you'll find at shopmsd.com. Upgrade your riding experience this season by visiting shopmsd.com. Top quality brands for your backcountry adventures. I think that's where you and I first crossed paths was the Heli Shoot Volume 11, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you were riding what, a XM 174 at the time?
Yeah, I was very new to the scene. It was like my first ever invite. I met Cody Borchers in Edson when he was working at Riders, and then he's like, "Oh, what are you doing this weekend?" I'm like, "Nothing." Like, "Well, you want to come to the spring shoot?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like how do you turn that down?" Like,
an opportunity like that, absolutely.
So I loaded up the truck and followed you guys down to Revelstoke and showed up to this heli shoot on a 174. I was like, "Oh, I got the wrong sled for this."
You quickly realized you weren't in the right group.
Yeah, I was like, this is what I need to do, but I got to change up some priorities here. So we that day it was like it was a full weekend. We had the heli for a couple days, and that was like the first time meeting Brett, and I'd rode with Brody once before, Nadine, Regan, Jay and McKinney. That was the first time meeting them. They were up, and Suhan had his knee wrecked, so he wasn't much of a show, but he's a good laugh. So.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah,
he was there in spirit for sure.
So that was,
and what a time to get introduced to the whole group, because everyone's there, the camaraderie, and then we talked about it with Suhan quite a bit and Borch a little bit, and some of the other guys on the podcast. Just like that camaraderie just keeps pushing the level, and everyone's just like, "You think we could do that?" And it's just like rock, paper, scissors, see who goes first, chickens it, and then just like if you can butter it, the next guy's like, "Man, I gotta now hit this like my buddy did," Yeah, exactly.
And that's the spring too, like the long days, early and mid-season days, like you're just getting the crew rolling, and then it's like, "Oh, we gotta go down." It's like 5 o'clock, it's dark. Well, you don't have to go down, but in the spring days, it's like we're halfway through the day and we got 8 more hours of sun left. Like, so everybody's just firing on more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah, it's almost like days like that you run out of gas and like almost talent by the end of the day before you run out of like daylight.
Your hands are like, I don't want to go home, but I can't hold on.
Whereas you're absolutely right. Like, December, November, January, it's like you definitely run out of daylight before you run out of everything else.
Yeah.
And although the snow's deep and you're working hard and burning calories all day, it's still like those days are short for sure.
And you're done by the end of the day. Like you have 15, 20 stucks on your own. If you ride like me, but you're done pulling by the end of the day. So it's kind of a blessing that it's dark at 4 o'clock.
Speaking of riding, what are you riding this year?
Last year with everything showing up late, I didn't get my boost until I think March 4th was my first day on the snow with it. So I still clocked in 900K on it in a month and a half, but I just ended up keeping that for another season. So I'm on a 23 boost, 155, and then I got the tunnel cut down to a 46, which probably end of February, I'll drop it down to a 46 for the jumping and flipping season. So
nice.
That's what we're going to run this year.
Do you have any ambitions of what you want to accomplish as far as 270s and flips? I know we got out with Suhan last year and got inverted a little bit. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a year-long daydream of what you want to do. There's features that I've had in my mind for 4 or 5 years that you always want to try and cross off the list. It's just a variant of snowpack really if it's going to be possible. So just banging out solid flips. Like last year I just started getting like comfortable flipping off almost anything you see kind of thing. Once you have that mindset of how to do it, it's like, oh, let's just go do this and that and this and that. And
especially on a turbo sled, when you get that speed off the lip and you're able to just, it helps you around so quick.
It pulls you. We experienced that when we did our early season webisode there last year. I was on a 9R and it pulled you to it. It just wouldn't pull you through it.
Right.
Especially being a bigger guy, like I need that for this, how the riding style that I do.
It's funny. I remember when the aftermarket turbos started becoming a big thing in let's say 2010, 2012, 2014 type thing. And guys were starting to get like more reliable turbos built on 2 strokes and starting to see what they're capable of. And they were still pretty finicky machines and no warranty or anything like that. So you're still taking a chance, rolling the dice. But to see what they're capable of, especially early season, like in springtime, you can almost carry as much speed as you want into a jump. But early season, it started to open up all these windows of being like, oh, now that feature is capable. You know, you can roll into that jump, even though there's like 3 feet of fresh on the ground, carry enough speed to actually do something off of it. Whereas like you're saying on the NAs, it's almost like you come up to a feature, you can get your skis to it, but you're really not getting much coming off of it, are you?
Yeah. And that's, a lot of it has to do with the guy that's doing it too. Like lots of people's riding styles very different on how they approach something or roll into something. And it's, I'm not saying it's impossible by any means to do it on an NA, because you go on the internet and everybody's upside down on NAs. So, but yeah, it just opened a lot of windows. You're getting 20, 30 mile an hour track speed over top of a 160 horsepower sled. So it's a big window opener and it's so fun.
It helps.
It's just so cool.
You mentioned trying to get to the jumps on a NA and you're a bigger dude. Do you think being more physical, like you work out on a regular basis, do you think that helps when you're getting inverted or feeling more comfortable when you are doing like, you know, tricks where you're really asking the most out of the sled?
Oh, absolutely. I think to ride at the level that we're all riding at, you have to be in good shape for sure. Maybe not being upside down, because once you're upside down, you're kind of just in it for the ride. But getting there, the cardio to get there, it's not something that we just roll up and hit. Like we've been riding for 3-4 hours already. We had to pack in an in-run. We had to find it. We had there's a lot more than just rolling up with a beer gut and doing a backflip kind of thing. I do, but there's more to it.
Locking your feet in the stirrups and just hanging on.
Exactly.
How often do you work out? What's your routine right now?
So as much as I can. I work a 14 and 14 shift, which has really helped me stay in a good routine. When I'm up at work, like all I do is work and work out, go to sleep kind of thing. So I would say upwards of 20, 25 days a month I'm in the gym trying to push off the spaghetti and beer. But the season's coming up, so
there's probably so many people listening being like, oh man, 21 days a month. Like, I wish.
And they're probably in better shape too.
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I notice it quite a bit riding with you that you're able to throw the sled around. You know, you see guys like Caleb Kosterky's a good example of that. That guy's dedicated in the gym.
He's a beast. Yeah. He is something I will never be. Like his motivation is crazy, and it's inspiring to see that. He's just got his routine dialed, and he knows what he wants, and the kid's just an arrow, right?
Yeah, because you see like the guys that laid the path for that style of riding, like the Chris Branson back in the day, and he's got a great flow, you know, perfect setup, long, lanky guy, able to use a lot of leverage to his advantage and things like that when he's riding backcountry, and a lot of air awareness and just years of good high level riding. But then you see like Caleb take that almost one step further because of how beefy he is in the gym, you know, like how he can muscle that sled around. Yeah. You see certain elements where it's just like, I don't know anyone else that could ride those pillows, hop kind of like a re-entry and then pop off of it, and the sled like wants to fight him and he's just like, no, we're going this way.
Yeah, he's got like the cardio of a 100-pound teenager and then the muscle of like a bodybuilder. So
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, and then so he's just like so I don't know even I don't think there's anybody in the industry that recreates how he can do. Like Saxton's a very comparable rider to him, but Saxton's also just kind of like a bull. Like, like he doesn't have the gracefulness that Caleb has developed, but he just hammers everything.
Yeah.
Kinda, so,
have you rode with those guys before?
I haven't had the opportunity to ride with Kosturki, but I've spent a few days with Saxton a couple years back. So, and then with COVID and everything hitting, that kind of blocked out a few years of being able to ride with those guys. But
right, they love coming up to BC, don't they?
We have everything they dream of.
They
bring us donuts and beer, and we give them riding.
Yeah, we open up terrain for them to be able to just huck anything. Yeah. What? Where did you grow up riding? Right now, you're riding a lot of Revelstoke, Sycamoose, and that. But where did you start riding?
Well, I started on a sled from an infant kind of thing. Like the old man put me in front of him, anything motors or whatever. So I got like naturally used to riding sleds at a young age, and then all around Whitecourt, like we used to get such good snow in Whitecourt, and living up on the mountain, we have like this old ski hill that was like 10K from my house, and it was like all.
Was it like abandoned or what?
Oh yeah,
no
they
way.
had like 6 or 7 runs that they had in there, and like when I was little and we first moved up there, the old chalet was still standing, like full abandoned, but the old like burnt railroad ties and stuff like that kind of chalet. And
oh, cool.
Then they tore it all down. It's all crown land up there. So
you were able to go kind of pull the ski runs and stuff like that on old little sleds
anywhere you wanted. Like I think each winter growing up, I probably pounded like 2,000 or 3,000 K of just ditch banging. Like,
but you talk about stamina at that age, it was just like as long as you had fuel in the tank, you were going.
Oh yeah, I wasn't working chores to get money to go buy things. I was like, my payment was like a jerry can of fuel a day. Like
living the dream though.
Yeah, the street lights never came on because it was on the mountain. I just like came home when the fuel light came on. And
in those days, what sleds were you running?
Oh, we would have started out on like citations kind of thing. Like the seat used to fall off, but who needs that? And then I think when I was 8 or 9, we got these Skidoo come out with these freestyle 300s.
Yeah, I remember this sled.
So we got that, and like Dad was pretty rad with that. We had that thing fully like modded out for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, what did you do to it? You said you put a pipe on it or something?
Yeah, we took it to Specialty Sleds in Edmonton back in the day, and got like a full pipe and can made for it, and like geared it up.
No way.
A little bit of suspension mods, and it sounded like a race quad coming down the trail, but just like I guess that's all it had, right? The little single cylinder 300.
That's
just
hilarious.
Screaming. So had that, and then had a 550 Polaris 550 fan cooled with, and those were like the trailing arm chassis. So I had like an 8-inch riser on it, so I could stand up and smash driveways. And
no way. So you're like jumping approaches basically and riding through ditches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were fun days because you'd like drive down the road, and I remember just looking off to the side of the truck, you know, when you're going with your folks somewhere, and you're just like, oh, I could probably like transition that one, like hit that tranny there, and
my mind still does that.
Who doesn't really? Like,
driving, like,
we're just big kids. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The worst part with that was the culverts. If you caught a ski into the culvert, that was bad news.
The first day I got an 06 Rev 600. I think I was like 13. The first day I had it, culvert.
Big time damage.
Oh yeah. Right side delete kit. Handlebars through the hood. Windshield gone. I think my helmet visor stuck in the hood and shattered that. Like, and then we had 10 acres, which was pretty much a square where I grew up.
Yeah. And
that was 5 acres away, kind of thing, like directly across a hayfield. And I remember like walking back, like, oh, I'm gonna walk a little slower.
Take my time.
Maybe they'll think I'm missing, and
they'll come worried rather than being angry.
Exactly. And I just remember going and telling Dad, and he's just like, "Yep, again, hey." Like,
he knew that was coming. The moment you got that sled, he was just like, "It's not if, but when."
Well, I have a pretty good history of carnage. I'm really good at wrecking good iron, so it's like that 550 fan cooled we had to get that skid rebuilt like 10 times. We didn't even go to Polaris anymore. We just went to a machine shop and got everything
refabbed it yourself.
Yeah, the holes went from like little quarter 8 millimeter bolts to like 8 or grade 8, 10 mils, 12 mils.
12 mils,
like,
yeah. For our American listeners, that'd be about half inch. You're increasing from about quarter inch to about a half
from
inch.
pinky to pointer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those. I remember building like homemade skags and everything, and you know, like it was just you had to be resourceful. I found a lot of times because I think out east they used like stud boy a lot more, and they were used to that sort of stuff. But out west, it seemed like a lot of dealerships didn't carry a lot of those like reusable parts, you know, or
yeah.
So I do remember that too, like going to a machine shop, building up parts for my sled and beefing it up because they weren't built for what you were taking it through. That's for
what
sure.
we were doing. So, and or if you were going to order parts, it was like a week or 10 days away, and it's like,
and pretty pricey.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm like, I'm a 12-year-old kid. I don't know what to do for 12 days.
Yeah. I need this thing running
My mom's
tomorrow.
Gonna be so mad at me if I'm in the house for 12 days.
I'm in trouble already. So you started riding around Whitecourt, and then the mountains. Your first time was probably Valemont McBride area.
Valemont was the Weekend Warriors. That's where we went.
Yeah,
I think first time ever in the mountains would have been in Clemina Creek in Valemont, where we would
good area.
Yeah, would have had the old 300 down in there, and
the mod 300.
the mod 300.
Clemina is cool because what is it, 13K in type thing? Like it's pretty short.
Well, I think it's like 30 something to the cabin, but you can ting a left at like 15 or something.
Yeah.
I haven't rode there in 10 years.
I remember it being pretty close, you know, in big parking lots and Groom Trail Inn, and I remember being pretty quick to get in there. And yeah, Valemont does it up right. Like they welcome sledders, whether it's Allen Creek or Clemina, like you're saying. Or...
They have such a great grooming program. Like the whole, it's a community thing, right? Like sledding is what the community wants in the winter.
That was one of my first time venturing out of this area in Kakwa, was going to Valemont, and I was just like, whoa, your hotel's like 10K from the parking lot. Like this is unreal.
Yeah.
Because we had set up camps out at Kakwa, which is a cool experience. You drag camps out there, but it's like, you know, you're an hour and a half, 2 hours from town. So you're really removed from society and getting a hot meal at the end of the day unless you're cooking it yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, we found we were spoiled in Valemont, and it's a cool area up there. That North Thompson, I know it like pushes past Blue River and all that whole valley that stretched through there to McBride is pretty good riding actually.
Mm-hmm. It's very I'm gonna say most of it's actually like pretty technical riding.
Yep.
To get the good snow in areas where there's not 100 people, like it's actually most of it's pretty technical, good riding.
Tight, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're definitely steep drainages, and you're hunting for the good snow packs or little snow pockets that you can find. And yeah, I do remember like coming across one group of riders. I think it was like Gord Humphrey and his buddies and those guys, and we were really like juvenile into the sport of like really pushing ourselves. First time we got like, you know, long track 800s, and we were going to the mountains, you know, teenagers, and just looking to like, you know, at that time climbing and jumping off little drops and stuff like that. But these guys were like doing some unreal stuff in this drainage, just like pulling wild shoots on M7s and stuff back in the day. And it was just like, it was a breeding ground for really good tech riding.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think Vinny Clark's from there, and Jordan Deca spends a lot of time there. And
there's a huge amount of talent around there.
Yeah. Yeah. And totally under the radar too. You just wouldn't expect it.
They're like, they just like come off the trap line. It's like, yeah, let's go with that.
We got to do it every day anyway. So why not? The one thing I did find different with the whole Sycamoose, Revelstoke scene was with Valemont was you can get hit with big cold snaps in Valemont. Like it can be cold.
When we rode Valemont Blue River, it was like, okay, maybe minus 30 we'll draw the line. Yeah. It's always minus 15 to minus 30. Like, so it's like, well, if we can pull start the sled, we're still good to go. And you would have like I'd have my onesie and a sweater and then another sweater. And I'm just like the Michelin man going up the trail. And as I'm a big dude, it is literally the Michelin. Like I got the bubbles. And then you get up top with the inversion and it's like minus 5. So you shed like 7 layers.
Yeah, because you get the sun too, and it's beating down on you when you're riding up the trail under the clouds. It's like, oh my God, man, like get me out of this quick.
And the trails are so long there. Like,
so long. And
especially Blue River.
cold.
Yeah. 50K in of just like
80 kilometer an hour.
Frostbite.
Hopefully my face still looks recognizable when I get home at the end of the weekend.
Yeah. And then moving down to Revelstoke, you end up like so spoiled. It's
So
like
spoiled.
minus 15. It's like,
That's a cold day in Revy, yeah.
Do we just go to the hot springs? Like,
Do you find it turned you into a fair weather rider
Oh,
now
yeah.
that you ride so much in Revy?
Yep.
It's crazy because like unless it's 3 feet of fresh and blue out, a lot of guys are just like, nah, I'd rather do something else.
Yeah, I remember my first full season in Revelstoke. I was living with Derek Wood, and that was his thing. Like, I'm not going riding unless it's Bluebird and Pow. And if you know Derek, just envision him saying that. And I thought, like, how spoiled are you to be able to say that? And then now it's like, I'm not going riding unless it's Bluebird or Pow.
But I think he got over that point of being so hungry for it.
Yeah.
And living there for so long that he was just like to a point in his career where he was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on the good days. Like, look at Rob Alford, been there for a long time now, like going on 2 decades.
Yeah.
And he like hangs it up in March. He's like, all I want to ride is POW and good days. And he does that. And that's his program now, you know? So he knows it and that's where he stays. And I think Wood was there too. He's just
you
like,
get 1,000,000 miles.
yeah,
It's like, I can afford not to.
I'm going to pick and choose.
Yeah. Well earned.
So what's it like for you to like be full time in Revelstoke throughout the winter? We say full time, but person's got to work and earn a living too. So you're like 2 weeks in working up here and then 2 weeks straight down there. You've turned into a bit of a fair weather rider.
Yeah. Yes and no. Because at the same time, it's like I'm still dedicated to getting the seat time because the seat time is how you feel comfortable on a sled.
True.
To be able to look at something and be like, oh yeah, I got this. Like, to just have the confidence to do it. So
that's a good point.
We say like full time. I still get like 10 to 12 days a month of riding, but that's like
hard riding.
That's hard riding for my 12 days.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because we talked, like Derek Wood, Rob Alford, and the people that live there, Nadine, all these people. And it's like, I think every single rider we mentioned like wants to accomplish something different.
Mm-hmm.
Like you saw when Brody Evans lived there and was riding full time and he was just like, go. And that was his like mission all winter. And you saw it to the point where it was just like hard on his body, hard on his sled, hard on everything. Right. So I think you're at a point in your career right now where it's just like you want to accomplish lots. So every moment you get, it's like you can't be a fair weather rider because you need seat time. You need to just be pushing yourself, getting comfortable on the sled, and they change every year and the conditions change every year and you got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot about like what you really want to accomplish in riding.
And I'm at the point where it's like every day I go out, I want to do something. Like I want to have one banger memory, whether it's a quick little video or a quick little picture of that day, like to make it worth it kind of thing, just for my own self-confidence of like, okay, every time I get behind a set of handlebars, it's going to be great kind of thing,
That's a good way to look at it. Do you think so? Social media almost like pushes you to be like, I want to get like a good banger still or a good little clip video or something to be able to post, and then like drives you because you could like watch that when you're back at work or whatever and like get amped up for the next trip.
Yeah. Social media, yes, like it's definitely in the back of your mind, like, oh, people are going to love this, but it's more for myself of like being able to look back and be like, okay, this is how I did this, like just to like study my own notes kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, I want to get that banger. So it's like, okay, I did this wrong, or my body was positioned this way or this way. Or if we're doing a re-entry or whatever, it's like I pushed here and you can like sit back and watch that. Like, because I think that's how I got to how I am, is like watching everybody ride, like spending time with Wood, spending time with Borchers and Alford and like everybody, and just watching everybody's style. So, well,
I think you spend enough time with guys like that, and it's like you're eventually going to be pushing your riding whether you want it or not, because they take you into zones. Yeah, they'll take you into zones where it's like you're either going to make it or you're not. And so every time you just kind of push your level higher, and then when they're doing whips or reentries or whatever, you're just like, whoa, that's capable, and you like see what you're able to do, and it definitely pushes
and then
you.
Just finding what works for you. Like, 'cause if you watch, everybody does a left hand whip different. Everybody's body is a little different. Like Borch likes to keep his shoulders up above the sled. Some people like to get it under.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, that different style. And we talk with lots of different riders about that because they always approach from what seems like more of a different sporting background. Like Riley with the mountain biking has such a different style than, say, Brett with ISOC background and Jay with Rimshaw. They all kind of attack the mountain a little bit differently.
Yeah.
What is your kind of inspiration, or like growing up, did you play a sport or something that?
Well, we were growing up. I was a rodeo kid.
Still shows.
Yeah, you'd never know. But I got on dirt bikes pretty young too, so I raced a lot of cross country, like enduros growing up.
Okay.
I did that till I was like 14, 15, kind of just like.
Talk about stamina, like 3 hours on a dirt bike cross country is.
Yeah, 3 hours by yourself. You're doing your laps are like 45 minutes to an hour. You roll in. Mama Gerber's got a jerry can and a fresh pair of goggles, and away you go again. Like, so that's kind of where the style of behind the handlebars come, and the comfort of like even just railing through trees.
Yeah.
And knowing like, yeah, I'll fit through that and not having to hesitate or slow down.
Yeah.
Just the confidence behind that.
You want to hear a funny story about cross country moto riding? The very first time I got into motocross late, and all my buddies grew up motocross racing, on the track. And when I started like my mid-20s, they were like, stay off the track. We just ride single track. We all got wadded at one point or another. Yeah. We hate the track. Don't go on it. So
we're not even going to show anymore.
And they were my buddies, and they were the ones kind of taking me under their wing to show dirt biking, experience dirt biking. Much like you and I on sleds, it's like, don't buy a 121 or a 136. Come get it, 155 or 154, whatever. Come ride the mountains with us. You'll love it. So same thing. Get a cross country bike, just loving it, having a great time. Ended up, I think, one of my first years riding, entering a cross country race just in like the B class or whatever. And I was like, that was, I want to say 12 years ago, because I hadn't raced again until just this summer. I took a 12-year hiatus. Then at the tender age of 38, I decided I want to get back into it.
That's like, yeah, I'm teaching an old dog a new trick here.
I should have known better.
I can do it.
But man, I had so much fun. Like, the hair scramble starts, like, bike off, hands on the helmet, and you're standing next to 33 other dudes.
Yeah.
And then your entrance is like 10 feet wide. So you're all converging down it. So it's just like everyone's got the nerves, but so much fun.
Oh yeah.
It's a blast. Like when you get into a rhythm after, say, lap 1 or whatever, and then like you said, there's the cutoffs after an hour or whatever. So if you can make the third lap, so a bunch of my buddies I was riding with got the 2-hour cutoff, and they didn't keep riding. And here I just came in under the 2 hours. So they're like, do you want to do a third loop? Well, I guess I'd better now. Like, I'm in the rhythm of it, but 3 hours on a bike is grueling.
And it gets to a point where it's like you're so far spread apart from it, like you don't know.
You have no idea.
So you're racing you against you.
Yep.
You could be in first place pushing like you're 7 bikes behind.
I just don't even know it.
You get home and it's like, man, I had like 40 minutes. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, and I talked to some guys and they're like, yeah, I knew I was behind him, so I knew I had to push. And I was like, how did you know? Well, like, I was just holding on for dear life. Well, I recognize that tree. Okay, I'm getting up to this spot. But no, I like had no idea where I was standing.
Yeah.
And ended up coming in third. I podiumed. I was so stoked. I was in the B class. I mean, I was not taking on the Masters. But guys like Regan, same thing. He enters on a 500 down in Vernon, and he wins the Masters.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Just like
yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. He was my inspiration to go back racing. Do you think you're going to keep racing, like cross country or anything? Or
maybe. Like, I'd like to get back on a bike. I haven't been on a bike in probably 6 years, kind of thing. We just like push so hard. It's one of those things. Like, I grew up racing. Did the enduros till I was like 14, 15. Went over to Moto, got my pro card, and
oh, you did?
Yeah. And
you're pretty serious into it then.
Well, just casual, right?
Get your pro card. You're definitely separating yourselves from most of the listeners.
Yeah. So, but it was just like 18 years old, working out 6 days a week, riding 5 days a week, every weekend. It's an amazing experience and something to do, but got to a point where Dad's like, all right, you got to like get a real job kind of thing. So
just the reality again.
Yeah. And so the priorities came over. Like, I kept a bike for a number of years, and now it's just like, I usually hurt myself during the sled season. So I need the summers to heal up so I can go hurt myself again in the winters. And it's like,
No, I think everyone would love to see you back on a bike again. I think that's like cross country to me is a sport that you can do like into your 50s for sure.
yeah.
Some of the guys listening, probably Borch is listening to this and he's like, no, I'll do it till I'm 60 something.
Yeah, but Borch never ages.
Yeah, no one knows his age.
He's been silver since 26 and he's been the same height.
Yeah, and that guy on a bike was unreal as well, you know, and so same thing. I think all of us come from some sort of moto background and
Yeah.
it shows in biking. So how far did motocross take you then when you got your pro card? Did you go like to the island or anything like that?
No,
Or?
I pretty much hung up the helmet after that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like one of those things. I won the intermediate that year and like got the card, and then it was like we either start doing nationals, like
Yeah.
kind of going all across Canada, and that was an option. I had a sponsorship lined up to like kind of trailer me across Canada and whatnot. And
What a cool opportunity.
Mom and dad kind of sat me down and was like, "You're at the turning point of like, what are you gonna do with your life? Like,
Yeah.
most of the pro guys in Canada don't make enough money to have a living at it, kind of thing, right?"
Yeah.
So, and I was nowhere near top 3 in Canada, like, so.
In that age when you were growing up, was Blair Morgan a big name then?
Yeah,
Or was
Well,
he just
he-
passed? Or like
he would have been like, as I was growing up, he would have been a big name, and then his accident would have been right when I was kind of like of age,
right.
kind of.
Yeah, and that was a big deal. I mean, to be multidisciplined like that, so good on the snowcross scene, and then to come to the dirt and be so good there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those boys were like an inspiration to all the motorheads like us. Like, everybody that was on a bike knew who he was, and everybody that sledded knew who he was, and it's like,
it's crazy.
that's crazy. And still, like, everybody still know.
Yeah, we're still talking about him to today.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like Carl Kuser and, you know, Vinnie Clark comes up and stuff like those kind of guys.
Carl was like a hometown boy for us. Like, grew up in Westlock and
Right.
had the track and everything there, right? So,
Yeah, you would have been following in his footsteps big time then.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a super. I never knew that about you, that you could have went pro. So you don't regret it. You did,
Not at
ended
all.
up going to the work thing.
It was like, that was something I'll look back on forever and be like, that was best time of our lives. Like,
But you left it there, and that's fine.
yeah, I'd love to get back on a bike and, you know, throw some whips and go through a trail. And
Here's an open invite anytime. Wednesday night ride nights in Grand Prairie. It's a great time.
it's
You'll love it.
Yeah.
Just bring
I'll
it.
just have to set up a kit, leave
Yeah,
it in
that's
the
right.
leave it in the shed here. and-
Leave it here, yeah. And then we can go rally some trails. It's cool when you get like camaraderie you talk about on the sleds with like a heli scene or whatever, and you get multiple athletes. But like Moto is one of those things you could like throw in the back of your truck, meet like, you know, 6, 7, 8 buddies and just rally the trail. And
Mhm.
it seems to happen more often, whereas like sledding almost like you start getting into groups of like 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's just like you almost want to peel away because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
Like 3 shredders. Oh, what a day.
yeah, you
Like 3,
carry-
4 shredders you can move the mountains.
yeah.
Like, it's just like, that's like my ideal
And that's
group size.
that's probably the difference, like you mentioned, is like moving the mountains, like going from one zone to another. Whereas like on dirt bikes, you have the set trail,
Mhm.
you're gonna go. So it doesn't matter if you have 10 dudes. You're
Yeah,
you know,
everybody's going.
Yep.
And it's
Same.
not like, okay, like, yeah, you'll still have like wrecks and, you know, hold ups, whatnot. But like on a sled, that's like a 45-minute ordeal
Yeah.
every time there's a.
And like you said, early season, you're limited for light and you got to cover ground. So
yeah.
it's like everyone's on that same mindset. I know when we're doing film days, it's just like you are up the trail as kind of as quick as you can
Yeah.
and get to that zone set up and start doing stuff because like you're already counting down the clock to go home at the end of the day and you want to accomplish a
It's
bunch.
like a movie set or whatever. Like in the parking lot, it's like, okay, nobody screw around. Like, we got want to be in this zone by 10. Like,
Everybody tighten your limiter straps on the way up because we
Yeah.
need to get in there.
the sun says it'll be out for 7 minutes around 8:03. Like,
Weather windows. Oh, they're the worst. Well, on film days, it's just like,
and it never fails. Like, we spend 40 minutes shoveling out a jump, and then you
Yep.
put your helmet on, and it's like,
clouds over. Yeah. Or the wind comes up or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. You had the opportunity to be involved in a pretty epic, I don't even know what to call it, set of accomplishments that Andreas Bergmark set out for himself.
yeah,
Like they've launched a couple now that we're recording this. So the people have got their feet wet with seeing it, and you made a couple cool cameo appearances. How cool was it for you to be involved behind the scenes, helping those guys out? Because you've been riding with them for a few seasons now, haven't you?
yeah. I think we're on season 4 or 5 together of them coming over and me being one of their main contacts to go riding with. Like, how blessed am I for that? Just in general, right?
Yeah.
So it's been incredibly inspiring. Like, I think I owe a lot of my career to those guys in the last 5 years. There's no way you can get in a room and not laugh and have a good time with them. One, for the English disconnect that we have.
The language barrier.
Yeah. So like between that and just like, I don't know how they do it, man. Like Andreas will fall 40 feet to his back on his tunnel and be like, okay, let's do it again. And I'm
Their landings seem to be always flat. Like they do not care about a transition.
Not
it's
at all.
just like if they flip to flat, they're happy. As long as it's into like some fresh pow, they're good.
When I was over there, I think we went through like 15 sets of rear bogey wheels.
Someone sponsor them bogey wheels.
Yeah, call the chopper. I need another set of wheels.
Oh my gosh, man. Really?
Oh yeah, because like it's all flat there. So you go up, you do like a re-entry or 270 or whatever, and if you land a little bit crooked, there goes your rear idlers, and you're either like boogieing out to replace them to come back, or you already have 3 in your backpack.
Yeah, I was gonna say a backpack full of them with you. Holy man.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that. Well, I guess it's like, what do you do, right?
that's movie.
But then I see, back to Kosturki here in the US, and it's like he's got the 4 wheels, billet, like burly setup. Yeah.
He's like the king of landing sideways and continuing on and doing another flip and then
doing something else after. Off the camera. The camera can't even keep up to him.
Yeah. But no, it's been pretty incredible to be a part of. It's been so inspiring just to have the mindset of like, he has 5 things in his mind that he wants to do. And it's not even, lots of them are stuff that have already been done.
Yeah.
But he just wants to be the biggest to do it.
Yeah. So it's called the Big 5.
Yeah. The Big 5.
And he's launching them with Lynx, in partnership with Lynx, because he's a Lynx rider on YouTube. So it's cool that they're hyping them up. And I think they're getting like good view counts. Like when I see them launch, it's like people are taking notice. But it's like you said, because it is the biggest. Like when guys like Brett Turcotte are like, whoa, dude, like that's awesome. Then you know it's big.
Well, his episode 1, like the gap.
Unreal, man.
What the heck?
Yeah.
And so even like if your average viewer or someone that doesn't follow the sled industry, if they like look at this picture and it's a 200-foot Death Valley underneath you, and some Swedish redhead is like, like that's just going to be amazing.
Yeah,
for anybody to see.
It doesn't matter how it's filmed or whatever. It's like able to do justification because it's like, yeah, like you said,
like
doesn't
so far beyond the imaginable.
Yeah,
that
people know what they're watching. Is big time. It's funny. Like anytime I watch skiing, it's like if you see like the Kai Petersons or the Logan Bohotas on there, it's just like I'm not a skier, but what I'm watching, I'm like, my jaw's on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, how do they do this? Like, they're doing 360s off of like, 80-foot drops
that they've never done a run into before. And it's
it's super blind. They can't see anything when they're going off of it. And it's just like huge props to them. But then again, like you're saying, like anyone could watch these Big 5 being launched and they're just like, this is unreal, man.
Yeah, exactly. And so to be a part of that and like just watch and learn like their vision and how they set it up and what they look for things and like just the dedication of, thankfully the episode 1 went off first try. Like I don't think there would have been a big 1 if it didn't.
Just end there.
Yeah, and that's over. But just like that goes back to the seat time of being behind a set of handlebars. Like he was so confident in himself to be able to just like know the speed that he needed. And
so there's Big 5. How many of them were you at?
I missed the first one by like a day. I was upset. Like, you have to go do it. The wind, the snow was there. The window to do it was there. You have to go do it. I missed it by like a day.
And you were working.
I was driving there. I was like to the floor,
getting the updates from them. Like
I got home. I was home for like 20 minutes, and the boys called. They're like, "Come over, have a Red Bull with us. Go sit down." And he's like, "Look what I did today, Josh."
No.
And I'm like, that's cool.
At least you got to celebrate with them.
Yeah. So
that like energy around that after you celebrate something like that is so cool to even be around because it's
I walked into the house and it was like silence, and I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like I was expecting Albin to like jump out behind me or something. Then he's like, no, just casually sits down. And he's, yeah, look what I did today. That's just so rad. And then we stayed up a little late and went riding the next day.
You got to celebrate a little bit.
You have to.
Drink it blue.
Yeah. And then the next one was that week, the same week when he did that barrel roll.
Yeah, so number 2 that they launched was a full barrel roll on a sled. So if you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. But he didn't want to just do, because a barrel roll has been done, and I say that casually because like the Swedes are wild, and you look over there and it's just like they always seem to be doing it off Greater Banks and wild stuff like that and whatever. So, but this one he wanted to like, his trajectory he wanted to take out farther, and he wanted to carry the barrel roll straight rather than like getting corked and doing a short one or whatever. He wanted to like be the longest ever done.
Well, the way that they do it, just the way that the inertia of the sled works, like we're only getting like a certain amount of distance, right? So it's like
the track's so heavy,
right? So he wanted to be like, I want to carry it 100 feet, and that's like impossible. One would say.
If you go watch it, you'll see how hard it was for him to get that out.
I think it was six attempts of like slam after slam after slam,
and still doing it.
Yeah, and we were all sick. Like all of us were like flu, chills. Didn't like. Alvin was so sick. Like he was sitting in the sun in his pit coat, like full wrapped up, and he was just like, "When do you need me to hold a camera?"
No way.
Kind of thing.
Call me when you need me, but otherwise I'm going to be like, just keeping my vital organs functioning.
Pretty much.
Wild.
That just goes to show the dedication of when they do come over here. They have a 3-week or a month window where it's like, well, no matter what happens, we have to still ride.
Yeah, they are dedicated. And like you said, they'll take a licking and just keep throwing themselves into it.
Yeah.
But not like, I think of guys like Dane Ferguson back in the day where you're just like, mad props to that guy because he was, hitting wild stuff. But you could tell it just wasn't quite as calculated. Like his air awareness wasn't quite as good as what like some of those Swedes have, or, lots of guys in North America too. But like, especially the Swedes when they come over, you think guys like KJ that led the way for that. And it was just like, for some reason in the air, they looked really comfortable.
Well, that's like the Danes and KJs, like they started the era. Brett, like of the
big air.
Okay, let's do big air and then let's get upside down. Like
they were doing it.
They were doing it. Like you look at KJ on that M9 or whatever, he had the yellow hood, and I can't remember which video it was in Sled Next, but he comes up and he does this left-hander over a pillow, and it's like huge on an M chassis.
Yeah.
So like that's the start of what we do now.
Yeah, we talk about old sleds and taking a lick in. The guys like Jeff Kyle, Rob Alford, Chris Brandt, Borchers, all these sorts of guys just like hocking themselves and
on 6 inches of travel.
Yeah, and taking it up in their spine and
a
then
10-inch foam seat.
Oh man, they needed it. Yeah. So number 2 was the barrel roll, and then number 3 was the front flip.
Yeah.
They just launched when we recorded this, and I just like couldn't believe it because I saw like Turcotte try his a few springs ago, and it's so tough to get that inertia to work with you. You need such a unique jump. And then again, we talk about flat landings, and I was like, well, where's this tranny? You're like, where's the transition? Where's this landing? Flat again. And I was just like, man, that's unreal.
It was actually like, you think it's like, wow, that must have hurt. But like seeing it in person, it was so smooth because he like came down and it was like track first. So his body is like relaxed by the time I land, and then his suspension is like, I know I make it sound like it was nothing, but like
you or I aren't going to do that tomorrow. I'll tell you that.
No. So it was super cool. Episode 3, I got invited to fly over to Sweden.
That's so cool.
It's so cool. And, like, there's such giving people, too. I was like, what I owe you for this or what I owe you for that. And they kept, like, they would, like, talk in Swedish, so I couldn't understand them. And then be like, don't worry.
Really?
I'm like, okay. So it was amazing that, like, Lynx and Sequence Sweden and Red Bull, like, they had us set up good. So, and then Albin and Pontus and Marielle and Andreas like stayed at their house, rode their spare sleds.
Wow.
Like,
what an experience.
Very big experience. But the first day getting there, left from Whitecourt. By the time I got from Whitecourt to Rick Scranton,
how many hours?
49 hours of travel time.
Wild.
So like 40 hours.
What was your flight path? You went from Edmonton to where?
To Toronto to Stockholm, Stockholm to Skellefteå, and then 8 or 9 hour drive up to Riggs Granson.
Whoa.
So it's quite a day. But
No doubt.
so we get there, and to add to that, the sun never sets.
Yeah.
So you get there after a 50-hour travel day, and you're like, I can't wait to get to some sleep. But it's like noon and sunny.
You got to go with the boys.
Yeah. So we got there the first day, kind of like set up at the house and got a fairly decent sleep. And then the next day, Andreas was like, okay, today's the day. He kind of went out the day before.
Scouted
out his spot because it's so different over there. The Riggs Granson, the community is in their mountains. Like it's
really
at the base of the mountain. So like you trailer in, you unload, you're at your house.
Really?
It's so cool. And like
what size of community? Like how many people?
Oh, like 80 huts.
Oh, really? That's it?
Like it's small. Like if you Google it, Riggs Granson, the town itself, it's not 80 huts, but it's small. There's
gas station.
There's no gas station.
Okay.
But it's a ski hill, a hotel, and like a grocery store kind of thing.
Oh, crazy.
That's all that's there. So we have to pack our fuel.
So it was kind of built around the ski, like it's a resort type town then, or what?
Yeah, it's like a ski. It's a ski hill with houses. Like there's hunting and fishing and all that around there. But I guess it's a pretty popular ski destination, snowboard destination.
Okay.
The ski hill doesn't look any bigger than
White Quartz.
But
and what
I could be totally wrong. I didn't really get to see the ski hill, but
you're really low elevation there too, aren't you?
Very low, like pretty much sea level.
Okay.
And then right at like if you spin the globe, you're on top of it. Like that's how far north you are. So it was like a tundra wasteland kind of thing. But super, super cool experience. So our first day was like, if you could write your daydream as a snowmobiler, that would be it.
Day one.
It was like plus 30. Ride from the house across the lake. You're in the mountains. Like, so we like first thing in the morning, get up, go ride. We go hit a jump or two. And then Andreas is like, there's like this kilometer-long hill. He's like, that's where we're going to do it. And so if you go watch the video, you'll see how long that in-run is. It's like a 600-foot long in-run.
Huge.
So we spend like 7-8 hours building this kind of, and it's such like that week is the week, like that's season ender. So there's 1,000+ snowmobilers that come stay in the resort, stay in houses, like whatever. So there's 50 people on shovels. At times there's one person on a shovel.
So cool.
Like just such a cool vibe. And then we get it done and we call in the heli. So the heli brings us in snacks and water and food and lands and kind of takes everybody that's a part of it for a flight. And
no way.
It's so cool. And then, so we start getting set up to film, and it's like everybody that's in our group has a job. So I got to go in the heli and film from the heli, and then
big film guy.
Cameras everywhere. Yeah, if you need anybody, I know how to run a camera. Mike knows that I'm not that good at the focus, but
you forgot to hit the record button. Damn it.
But no, it's just super rad. So to watch that happen and just like how he prepped for it and the parts that we had to bring in, like he brought in a full suspension setup on his back because he couldn't ride his sled normally with it, but he needed it to do the flip. So yeah, it was just, and then it happened. First try.
The one thing that kind of caught me off was the lip that was built to help springboard the rear skid around. So was it kind of unique? Like, what did you guys build?
Kind of funny story with that. Like, so we built a straight lip as to what you would think.
Normal,
and then he built right in the middle of it. He built like a 6 or 8 inch snow wedge for the track to hit. So we thought like, oh, like that'll kick him perfect. So we salted it up nice and hard, rock hard. He does the flip. He didn't even touch it. Like
really? He missed it.
He missed it. Like, so he was over to the left and his track didn't even go up the kick. So he's like, well, I guess we know, like, kind of thing.
That's so crazy. But he came in so hot.
As fast as that 600 would go. And like, right to the pin.
And I wondered like how he was going to, navigate right at the end and everything else. But
even when you watch his GoPro, his point of view from it, like coming into the in-run, that it goes to show his confidence behind a set of bars because he's bouncing and
Yeah.
like he's not even coming into the in-run proper and still just goes.
And you mentioned salting the lip. That's it's funny because a lot of people they've never done it, but they've never seen it. But we bring salt up in the springtime to apply to the takeoff of jumps, so then they stay firm and they don't get trenched out.
Yeah.
The salt actually like really hardens it up, turns it to ice.
Yeah, melts the snow a little bit, and then that little bit of moisture just freezes, right? So so you can get more than 1 or 2 hits at it, but also for something like that, you wanted it to be firm to kick. As much as I'm there to support him and I love being there for it, it's like, all right.
I need my own 5.
I don't need my own 5, but I'd need at least one. We had got this ongoing joke when we first started the Big 5 in Revelstoke. I was sitting there with the Sequence boys and Felix and Tobe. We're sitting there, and I was like, okay, well, next time you guys are in Canada, I want to do a medium 4. And so that's the ongoing joke of what
you can have your Big 5.
Yeah,
I'm
like
launching a medium 4.
Medium 4, and Felix just killed him. So when we were over in Sweden, he's like, well, Josh, it's time for you to do your medium 4.
So did you find some features there where you were like, oh man, I want to hit this, or were you just happy to just cruise around with them?
Oh no, I was there to ride too, and that was part of it. Like, come help, and in exchange for helping, like, do whatever you want. So I got to flip, got to backflip, nailed my first 180, 270, I guess, whatever you would call it. You go up the lip and flip upside down, and then land the same direction you came up, and then pop down. So that was pretty sweet on a sled I'd only rode for one day, and it was a rental. And
I've heard from a lot of people it's really similar to riding Alaska. Have you been to Alaska? Do you know?
It's on the list. I've never been. From what I'm told, Alaska is way bigger and vast. But I can't compare anything like that.
Sweden, you're only allowed a certain remote areas at a certain time of year, isn't it?
I couldn't tell you. Like, a lot of their mainland riding, it's very, very restricted. Like, here's the trail, don't go off the trail,
right? That
sort of thing. Up in the mountains, from what I was told, so we were so far north, we had a Norway border,
right?
And it's like they have sensors. Like, you go across the border, and it's like
they know, really.
Yeah. So I was like a little nervous of that, and then of course we wanted to go up. At the last day, we went up to like the highest peak, so you could see the ocean in Norway and stuff.
No way.
And they're like, we're safe. And I'm like, I don't believe you.
Tell Josh to go. That would be one of your medium 4s that start there, right there. Try and outrun the
bail
helis
me
that
out
come
of the
from
Norway.
Norway prison. Medium 4.
I don't know a lick of, and so there's Swedish, and then we're on Norway, so getting a lot of Norwegian accents, and I couldn't talk to a single person.
You were just on your own little island there.
Yeah.
If anyone else was listening and wanted to go over there at any point in the spring, like, is there something that you're like, you got to go at this time or go to this place, or, like, did you get any insider scoop of,
Well, it was a little tough because they had a pretty low snow year. So comparing the pictures of what they did last year to what we had this year, like, the snow was up above the windows in the same cabin, and this year, like, you could have mowed the lawn kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty low snow, and they were even very surprised. Like, they've been going to that same spot, the same dates for 15, 20 years, and having unreal days kind of thing. So,
do you think his Big 5 would have been possible without, like, a big energy drink sponsor like Red Bull behind him? Like, do you think that's where a lot of, not just, like, obviously it had to be stemmed from somewhere in his inspiration, imagination to come up with something like this, but, like, then to carry it out, especially in the format he did, do you think it required like a monster Red Bull?
Oh yeah, 100%. He's definitely earned every penny of what everybody's giving him. No, hands down, but it's expensive. Yeah. Like, lots of the trip was covered, but like I filled up the car and stuff over there, and so it's in like Swedish krone, and it's like 987,000, and I'm like, cool, Visa. Thinking it's like just 80 liters of diesel.
Right.
Turns out it's like $410 Canadian.
Way.
So I was like,
it's like $4 a liter.
Yeah, pretty expensive. So it's definitely for them to fly back and forth for 2 years or 3 years or however long this project's going to take, plus the hours and hours of film crew, because like they got sequenced. So the 2-3 guys, and then a photographer, and then heli, and then the 17 sleds he wrecks a year, and That's
got to be backed with someone with deep pockets.
Yeah. And that's Europe in general, like all the European athletes, like it's just the sports over there are so promoted, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think he would have done it regardless. He's just that kind of guy. He would have made it work regardless. But now it's like, all right, I got that fancy helmet on. Let's go send it kind of thing. So.
Well, and you got the heli there and you have the resources to be able to do it in a kind of let's call it a safe environment, as safe as a front flip can be. But
yeah, and that was the other aspect of it. I think he proved to them, like, okay, we do need a heli for the day because we're 2 hours from the nearest hospital. We're an hour from the car. Like, if you do something like that and he crushes ribs or crushes a lung or whatever, like, it's pretty hard to get you there.
Yeah.
So the safety aspect of things, and then it was just nice, like, the heli flew us in snacks and brought us some midnight water and like that sort of thing.
Were you nervous when he was doing it? Like at any point, you know what he's capable of, but were you just like, no, man, if this goes south?
He put the vibe off of like he understood what he was doing. I think lots of people were like nervous, but not nervous for him. Like he's got such great air awareness. And we talked about that when we were over there. We did kind of an interview together of like the way that we ride and the things we do. Like it's not like jackass. Like we're not just coming out here to send it and hurt ourselves. Like it's actually pretty calculated of if it goes wrong, this is the point that I can bail safely, or like this is what to look for or feel. And you can see that where when he's upside down and he doesn't know where he is, he like
his head's beside the sled.
He pokes out to see like, okay, this is the part to let go. And a front flip's actually a lot safer than a back flip or a 270 because there's only 25% of it where the sled's above you or that can trap you. When the rest of it, you just let go and the sled carries on.
Yeah, in front of you, yeah.
Backflip, you let go, the sled chases you.
Yeah, it's coming at you.
So like that was just all conversation that we had as a group. Like, this is what's going to happen. This is how I bail if I need to, kind of thing.
Last season ends up being a big success in the springtime, but rewinded a little bit to mid-season. Revelstoke, you mentioned you're on a 9RNA, but we had a couple of good
Cody
days.
Borchers for that one.
Thanks, Cody. There's been a lot of instances where Cody's sleds have been used mid-season while he's away working and other people just ride them.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I borrowed his sled and I flipped it before he did. It was actually my first flip, so he was like pumped for me, but I remember showing his wife and she's like, ooh.
Maybe just hold off and showing him that right away.
Yeah, I called him when I got down and he's like, oh, Gerber, like, what did you wreck? And I was like, nothing. It's a great day. I did my first backflip on your sled. And he's like, oh, no way, sick. You
can have it
sick.
back now.
Yeah.
Then he went quiet for like a couple seconds on the phone.
Yeah. And then last year with the shortage of everything, kind of like Stoked was so great to me all season. Every time I wanted to ride, I had a sled, but it's not the same when it's not yours. And then you were coming down to come film and with Nick and me, and I was like, I don't even have a sled yet. Like
we got to figure this out.
We got to figure it out. And Cody's away at work, so I did the like call your dad for permission kind of thing.
Hey, do you mind if I got buddies going and it'd be sweet if I could?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So we ended up having a pretty good few days riding mid-season.
Man. We got like, I think it was like 3 days. Viz wasn't like great, but the snow was amazing. Yeah. Thankfully, I had a 165 kind of deal. Like it was that kind of deep of snow.
It was.
And it was awesome. Like we had Aaron come out, Nadine, Josh Snyder, Nick, me, you. Like
it was a good group.
Yeah. And so we go into a couple of our like favorite POW day zones where you just know it's like, okay, the snow is set up, it's deep, like let's go fall off some stuff, like as our psychotic minds would think.
Well, and in snow like that, it kind of it builds a lot of confidence. It's like even if you're not quite as dialed right into that perfect transition spot on the drop or jump, it's like you can get away with it in that early mid-season and the snow we had. And I remember we kind of a lot of times you get into a zone and it's almost like, I don't know, there was like old MX Moto games or whatever on the computer where it was like, do you think this little dirt bike or quad or whatever you're jumping like could go from this transition to the other? And I remember being like, do you think that'll line up to there? And you're like, oh yeah. And it was such a gnarly in run. You had to like cross cord it, side hill, and then set it down at the last second, then like pop off the pillow sideways, and then just cross the mountain and then use the tranny. And
I had to like go up at first because I had to go up, NASCAR corner left, hop to the right to transition the sled, set it down on a pillow, and then fall. And I remember like, all right. And it's funny you say that because like I remember when me and you first started filming and you were like, when the camera comes out, like be cautious. I know people get squirrely when a camera comes out, and now every time I point at something, you're like, I'll film it.
Okay. Yeah, you were dialed that day though. I remember, just looking at it and knowing what's capable, and you're confident. And the more you ride, like you said, you need to like keep pushing yourself every time you get the opportunity to be on a sled. So it shows, I think, when you're out there with guys like Nick and Nadine, and Aaron's a great rider, so he was doing some cool stuff. And it's just like, I think these sorts of things are capable. And it's interesting because like if you brought someone from out east who's a great rider or whatever on hard ground or ditch banging or whatever, it's still those in runs. It's still being like confident going off blind takeoffs where you're just like, I don't know where I'm at on the mountain, or getting to that takeoff where people don't give it enough credit on camera because it's just like you kind of forget that all you see is the big jump, and it's just like, oh, did he just like walk that and just ride a sled to it? And it's just like, no, like getting to the takeoff is
a feat.
Half the battle.
Most of the stuff is like virtually impossible if you just look at something. There's a whole thought process. Most of the time they're shoveling or like setting up a few tracks, or very rarely is it just like a blind like
just hit it and go.
Yeah, and it never works.
No, preparation makes a good end result, I think, in those instances for sure.
Anybody can jump. It just, you got to know what you're doing before, during, and after.
Yeah, backcountry's a whole different beast. You're getting there, you're accessing it, you're deep in there. You can't, take risk management.
It's huge.
The whole thing.
KJ said that in an interview years ago. Like, people don't understand. We're in the middle of nowhere. Like, help is not a 911 call away. Well, it is kind of is now, but it's still minimum an hour to 2 before if they can even fly a nurse in to see you.
Yeah.
Like, so just that whole risk management alone. What time of day is it? Like, do I really want to backflip at 4:00 in the afternoon? No. Do I? No, Mom.
I promise I won't.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's but you mentioned like some of our favorite zones. You must have some good honey holes over the years of like riding as much as you do in Revelstoke.
Yeah, and super blessed to be introduced to like all the pioneers of Revelstoke who have those secret zones. And I think our second day filming, I got told like, don't bring anybody else back here, or we'll slash your tires, fill your gas tank with sugar. And I was like, okay,
I won't do it.
I don't even know how to get back here. It's my second day in Revelstoke.
I don't even know which direction we went from town.
Yeah. But of course, it's like anywhere. When you ride it enough and you ride with people that excel and are willing to explore, you find a lot of great areas.
Do you have a favorite now that you're like, I always, if we get 2-3 feet of fresh and blue skies, I always want to go to this place?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I can't tell
you. Slash my tires before you leave.
Yeah. Well, especially if I say it on YouTube, like Alfred's gonna drive from Revelstoke to do it.
Find us. Yeah.
He'll find me.
It's funny though, because like it doesn't matter what direction you go in Revelstoke, you'll find it.
That's the half the beauty about there's like next to no restrictions. If you can get there, go.
Yeah, and I think some of the fondest memories I have in that area is just like, the heli shoots are awesome, a lot of camaraderie, long days, incredible riding. But some of the ones I hold on to is like when you're exploring into those new zones, like when Nadine took us up to that mission, when Riley and I went and explored that zone out of Gold, and it's just like, those ones are really cool because like you feel different when you know you're the only person that's ever been there before. Yep. And
that's the feeling on its own.
When you finally get to that ridge, or busting the Alpine or whatever, it's just like, it's so cool because you just look in all directions, and it's not like, say you go up Keystone or Sail or Boulder or wherever.
Yeah,
it's like
where
you're following tracks, someone's been there, they already cut into a trail, and you're getting to different zones, and you've been there a lot. This is just like, like what is beyond that next ridge? And it always just like feeds that hunger of just being like that curiosity of like, man, and your buddies are just right there with you. Like, let's
go.
Yeah.
Why not?
I'm so curious to see what's down there too. And then it's really testing your abilities of riding to be like, can we do it safely? Can we get down there? Can we get back? And knowing your abilities, your group and everything else. And like, it
comes to that ability of the unknown too, of like, I don't know. I've never been across there. Can I get across there?
Yeah, you're talking.
What's on the other side?
You're talking flipping at 4 p.m., but like dropping into a new drainage at 4 p.m. is the same thing.
I think it's worse, to be honest. At least
sounds like
I know where I'm flipping, and I know I can get out of it.
Yeah,
being in the darkness at 11 o'clock with 1 bar of fuel and no granola bars is like, whoops.
We did a mission with Nadine and some of her friends a few years ago, and it was right well into the dark. We knew we were going where we had to get to, but it's just that like you just have to keep pushing and keep going and navigating once it gets dark. Have you had to do it much?
Oh yeah, like lots.
More than you'd like to admit.
Well, there was a pretty good season where I got really good at it, and Mom started to worry around 6 or 7, and Dad's like, "Oh, it's not midnight, it's fine."
But yeah, night riding it's a whole different beast, because then you can't be using the mountaintops if there is viz. Like a lot of times in Revelstoke, you're only dealing with 500 or less feet of visibility, so you're not using the mountaintops as references or valleys references to say like, okay, we're going north or wherever. When darkness falls, it's like you got your headlamp 100 feet or whatever it is, and
hope your internal compass is bang on.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got like a 15-foot radius of how far your light can shine, and every tree looks the same. And
they do. It's real easy to make 360 degree circles and just be going back the same
someone
direction.
else is in here.
Let's follow these tracks. Oh, by God, if they weren't yours. Shit, this whole time.
We're out of fuel.
You mentioned internal compass, but that's like a true thing. Like there's been a lot of times, even, was it last year, we had a lot of the Americans up. Yeah, it was last December, a bunch of the Americans up, and Borch is just like, you're tip to tail with your group, and there's like 10 of us out there, and he's taking us across Boulder. It's blowing snow, dark out, and you can't see, beyond your headlamp by any means. Like the snow was impeding visibility before even that, and you're just exactly using your internal compass. There's landmarks that you're trying to watch for because you've been up there a lot, but it's just like
there's like dark, and then there's like mountain dark,
blowing snow sideways dark.
Yeah, it's a total different darkness.
Yeah, and so thanks to Borch for taking us out of that one. But
he's probably been up and down that 15 times, just putting on a show.
That's it. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. Like I'm sure you've been in situations where you like get in a group, and it's like certain guys have good abilities to be able to determine where they're going naturally, and other guys are just lost with it.
Growing up as a country kid, like I pretty had to have an internal compass kind of thing. So that's something that I've always had. Like I always know where home is. I always know the direction of that I need to go, no matter how many times I roll down a hill or how dizzy I get. It's like that way.
We're doing it. I'm getting
no
home.
native in me, but it's that way.
So this year, are you excited to do your medium 4? Are you going to pull it out for us?
Yeah, maybe. I got some goals that I want to do this year for sure. I just staying healthy is one of them. It's something that I never end up doing, and by the end of spring, I'm like ragdolled and still sanding it. But that's why I stay in the shape I am. Like I can take a hit.
Yeah.
I don't know very many guys that under rotate a backflip like I do and just get up.
Derek Wood be one of them. He's kind of superhuman.
Yeah, Derek Wood. Yeah, for sure. So, I just want to get, like I said, comfortable behind a set of bars, back to like where I was 3-4 years ago, where anything that I looked at was accomplishable in my head.
Nice.
I got one big goal that I'm kind of doing, want to do like a little film project, a little 3-day film project that kind of keeping under wraps until it happens.
Give us a little bit of a taste of what it's going to be.
No, I can't do that. It's going to be cool. And I
That's
want
all you could say.
It's something that we talked about when I was over in Sweden. So I want to do it before they get here.
Yeah. This time you'll do it the day they're traveling.
Yeah.
And show them
when they're on a plane with no service.
That's
kind
right.
of thing. Yeah.
Then they land and see what you did.
Yeah. And that's the totally props to those guys. They've given me the inspiration to even think that something's possible like this. So,
well, I can speak for all the listeners when I say we're excited to see what you've got in store for 3 days of filming. Josh, this is going to be exciting. Well, thanks for sitting down with us, the Mountain Sledder Podcast here. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
You got to get back to the dirty oil money tonight, don't you?
Yeah, back to the patch we go. I went to bed at like 3 a.m. last night and up at 5 today. And
You wouldn't do it any other way if it wasn't the Alberta oil patch.
no, paid by the hour, baby.
All right, Josh, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man.